Okay, good afternoon. My name is Robert Fathauer. I have a small business called Tessellations that includes the online store Math Art Fun and the Dice brand, the Dice Lab. First, a few recent ceramic sculptures. The first three here are based on ciphered surfaces for links and knots. This is the Hopf link, the trefoil knot, and then the figure 8 knot. And these two are based on the Mobius strip. And then new dice products since the last meeting. We have a Countdown D24. This is in the form of a sphericon. We have a 5-sided die. And also some new D4s in the form of solids of constant width. And then finally, the 5 dice gopher set that Eric Harsberg talked about this morning. So in the past, I've talked about fractal-limit tilings. These are edge-to-edge and limited or bounded in the Euclidean plane. And I've also talked about fractal gaskets. This is the Sierpinski triangle, and there are other ones based on self-replicating tiles. And these are related to what I'm talking about today, but different. These are, the fractal limit tilings are not proper tilings, but things that only tile in the fractal limit. And I'm making 3 distinctions with these. One is the case where tiles do not touch each other at all, which I think is the most satisfying. I just like the idea of a tiling where none of the tiles touch. The next, they touch tangentially at a point, and then the third one, they touch along an edge. So starting with squares, because squares are simple, you can, for example, arrange 8 squares around a large square and then strictly iterate. I want to strictly iterate every step on these. So you get that, and if you can recognize, of course, the kind of inverse of the Sierpinski carpet. Note also that the very large square could just as well be one of the very, very tiny squares, which is to say you can iterate in both directions ad infinitum. So these actually cover the entire mathematical plane. And this is based on a 3x3 grid. If you want to convince yourself it actually fills the plane, you can do the infinite sum, and it is just a geometric series. You can extrapolate this to larger n by n arrays. Here's the 4x4 case. So you might wonder about the 2x2 case. Well, then there's no center square. There's a corner square you can use, though. And you can do that. The only problem is you cannot avoid matching along edges, at least by the third generation. If we carry this out further, it looks like that. You can arrange your second generation squares with a different rule and get this, and there are other ones. Moving on to triangles, we can do this. That's, of course, the Sierpinski triangle. And like in the square case, you can do larger arrays of triangles. This is the 5x5. In this case, the triangles do not touch at points. And now hexagons, the last regular polygon that tessellates, those don't work so well. You can try kind of side to side and you get gaps. You can try like corner to corner and you get gaps. No good way to do that, apparently. Let's go back to the squares. Note that if you turn these into cubes, you can do a 3D analog to tile 3-dimensional space, like this. The Menger sponge is often talked about as the 3D analog of the Sierpinski carpet, and that makes sense. But from the tiling perspective, the 3D analog is this thing. And the Menger sponge as an anti-tiling or something would look like this. It's a tiling of 3D crosses. And this would be the 2D version of that. Going back to this, if this tile is 3-dimensional space, then any planar slice should give you a tile of the plane. And so let's slice this in the middle of the large cube and in the 1, 1, 1 direction, which is going to give us a hexagon in the large cube and actually in many smaller cubes. If I paint those blacks, you can see them better, and then drop out the other stuff. We have a nice tiling of hexagons. Unfortunately, there's no simple algorithm apparently to make this as an iterative structure. You can, however, do a tiling of this sort using a fractal tile that's related to the hexagon. I'm going to develop the tile and the tiling at the same time. So with each iteration, you put 6 previous generation tiles together. And in the limit, every tile is the same fractal shape, and you do have one of these fractal limit tilings. And that is all I have. Thank you.